Good evening and welcome to Experience Bar, where we're turning video games into cocktails. My name is Jack and I'll be your bartender for this evening as I show you how to make the only drink you'll need in the zombie apocalypse. Strawberry Surprise from Cataclysm, Dark Days Ahead. Let's get started. So, I realized that Cataclysm Dark Days Ahead is a bit of an indie game, so it might need a little bit of introduction. So here's the long and short of it. It's a zombie survival game with a bunch of crafting recipes in it. One of which is for Strawberry Surprise. It's an item that has a whole bunch of arguments about it because some people think it's too good, some people think it's integral to the early game, but I am in neither of those camps because I think that it's a stupid recipe more than anything else. Or at least what it is in the game. Let me show you what I mean. So, to follow the in-game recipe for Strawberry Surprise, you are going to need a pot, right? You are also going to need 2 strawberries. Don't chop them, don't muddle them, because the in-game recipe does not say to. And then you'll just need a whole heap of vodka. Just pop it in there. There we go. Give it a bit of a swirl, and then put it on a hot plate. There we go. On, let's say, medium. Again, the game doesn't stipulate. It just says to put it on for 7 minutes. Now, the thing about Strawberry Surprise is that you can actually make this in a frying pan, so we're cheating slightly by putting it in a pot, but because we're heating alcohol, which will burn off because we're heating it, I'm gonna put the lid on, so at least it has a good chance of still being an alcoholic drink at the end. So, while we're waiting for this monstrosity to finish heating up, we're gonna make a slightly more realistic version, slightly tastier version that will actually improve your morale instead of whatever that's gonna do. Right, first, you're gonna need a mixing glass. No ice yet, and the same number of strawberries, just 2. If you want, you can chop them up. It's a little bit of an easier time, but to be honest, you're gonna be muddling them anyway, so you don't need to. 2 ounces of vodka. Guys, I forgot my usual muddler, which is a nice wooden one. This is something that I bought a few years ago when I first started making cocktails. It's called a bartender, and yeah, I know, it looks a bit suspect, but this is actually a pretty good muddler. And just crush them, smush them, usher them, do all the things that you need to do to squish them up and get them infused with the vodka. The reason that you infuse things into a liquid is that you are actually picking up the flavors. Some people do a dry muddle, don't do that. It's not as good as a wet muddle. And also, I don't know if that's what that's called, a wet muddle, that's just what I call it, so lovely. Away you go, you strange space contraption. We are now going to strain this into our shaker, 3/4 to a half filled with ice. There we go, you see it's turned a nice pinkish color, lovely. You're then going to follow that up with 3/4 of an ounce of simple syrup and 1/2 ounce of lemon juice. Now this is called Strawberry Surprise. People who know their cocktails will know at this point this is a pretty standard strawberry sour, right? But we got a surprise. Here is our secret ingredient. The presentation. Fish sauce. Yeah, fish sauce. I know it sounds weird, but don't be freaked out by it. I promise you this will work. Just only put a couple dashes in there. You will not taste it. It will just add a slight salty brininess to the drink that will bring out the sweet flavors. You won't even really taste it. Okay, that's what my tests have shown anyway. There we go. That's all you need. And we're gonna give it a good old shake. We're gonna strain it into this comically large jug because that's all we've got, because the vessel in classic Experience Bar fashion is got a little bit ridiculous and it doesn't really work just to try and strain it straight from here into there and just pour it on in. There we go. You might be asking yourself, why a glass bottle? It's because in Cataclysm Dark Days Ahead, you can find a shit ton of glass bottles and they often become an early game container. So we've got our nice version over here. Should we go and have a look at what this monstrosity is doing? It's been about 7 minutes. Let me show you what happens. First, you get a whole bunch of heat coming out of your saucepan, and then when you look at it, let's just use this, you'll see that the vodka has turned kind of like a nice little pink there, right? That's literally all it does. It doesn't taste of strawberries. All of the alcohol has basically heated off, so you're drinking boiled vodka. Even after cooling this down and putting ice in it, it still tastes really bad. So if you want a nice colored vodka, yeah, sure, you can do that if you want. But this version, on the other hand, it looks nicer, and let me tell you, it tastes nicer too. Cheers. Here's to all our supporters on Patreon who make these drinks happen. Right. Cataclysm, Dark Days Ahead, zombie apocalypse survival game. It's not exactly the most unique thing in the world, but what is unique about it is the fact that the amount of work that has gone into this enormous game. The amount of depth in Cataclysm Dark Days Ahead blows my mind every single time. There is constant updates. It's regularly being changed and adjusted. There's a bunch of arguments on the forums all the time about even the most minor things and changes because these people are so passionate about this game. I should tell you, and I probably should have mentioned this at the start, this game is completely free. The people who design it have kind of a bounty board for certain bugs, I think, still, but the vast majority of the developers do not get any money out of it. It's purely for the love of this game. And that love has resulted in some really cool ways to play. I personally like Cataclysm because it's so heavily based on crafting. You can start from nothing and get to just the most ridiculous robots, all sorts of nonsense going on, and it's super satisfying going from Stone Age to Space Age. I like to play like a little hermit in the woods, crafting his way through and slowly getting better and better and better over the years, until eventually I will delete the game and start again once it gets a little bit too easy. One of the easiest recipes to get during that early game is strawberry surprise, right? This is just one of the food items that you could create, but like I said, it's one of the most argued over simply because it is sometimes considered overpowered. The crafting system itself is so realistic that people will argue over the volume of a steel plating in your inventory, right? Like for hours at a time, just trying to get the right thing. And that results in a bunch of recipes that could actually work in real life. This isn't one of them, but it can result in some pretty good homemade stuff that I've taken inspiration from here, and it's not going to be the only one. Look up Boozeberry if you're ever in game to find something that's a little bit similar to this. But that's it. That is my big rant about Cataclysm Dark Days Ahead, and I will say, if you've never played any of the games from the cocktails that we've made, this is the one that you need to play, okay? I played it for years and I've never got bored of it, and I always come back to it when I just want a nice, cool game to play. Thank you so much for joining me. I've been Jack Stone. This has been Experience Bar. If you enjoyed what you've seen here today, give us a like and subscribe. Comment down below if you've got a suggestion for a game or a drink you'd like to see. Head over to our Discord or our subreddit to engage with the community. And we've got Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and all that fun stuff as well. Last but not least is the cream of the crop of our supporters on Patreon. These are the people that get some extra cool stuff, including a D&D recipe book. So if you want to join them and want to see this show keep happening, head on over and consider throwing us a couple $1 a month. Thank you in advance if you do. We're creating new content every couple of weeks, so I hope to see you then, but until then, cheers.